Spaced practice is a learning technique that focuses on spreading out your study sessions over time, rather than cramming just before an exam. It's a highly effective technique that can significantly improve your knowledge recall in exams, particularly when used alongside retrieval practice. You can find more information on how spaced practice and retrieval practice work in our pods on the topics. GCSEPod is well suited to multiple learning techniques, and you can easily use it to support spaced practice. Firstly, watching a single pod once may not always be enough, particularly if it's a challenging topic area. Watching the material multiple times will help you get to grips with the subjects you're studying and recall as much information as possible later. This requires some advanced planning. Make a weekly study plan and set aside a bit of time every day for studying, even if your exams are months away. First, select the information you want to revise. It could be multiple topics, but for simplicity, let's say it's language techniques. In your first study session, access GCSEPod and click Create a new playlist. Give your playlist a name, and then add all the relevant pods to it. If you're learning about multiple subjects, consider creating multiple playlists, one for each of your subjects. Once the playlist is saved, take time to watch each pod. Take lots of notes as you watch the pods, or draw a mind map. To get your mind map started, write down all the keywords that appear on screen in the pod. Once the pod has ended, try and write down as much as you can remember about each word. You may also want to review all the information you've learned about language techniques in your classes with your teacher. Why not combine your class notes with your own notes from watching the pods? After your initial session, organise a series of times to review what you've learned. This will now be easy, as you've got a playlist set up on GCSEPod which you can easily access, and you have your notes or mind maps to review. Ideally, you should first review a day or two after the initial session. The second review should take place after 4 or 5 days. The third should be a week later. This should progressively lengthen over time. You don't have to follow a set plan for this. Figure out the lengths of time that work for you. In each review, you have to remember what you learned in the initial session. This improves your memory and gives you the best chance at retaining the information. Remember, the goal is to find the sweet spot just before you'd forget the information, and to review it then. This is the best way to apply spaced practice and improve your potential for learning. For this reason, if you're uncertain on how long you should space your reviews, it's always better to be over-generous than to make the space too short. It's important that you don't just sit down and re-watch the pods on GCSEPod during these review sessions. Ideally, pick a topic and write down as much as you can from your memory. Then watch the pod on GCSEPod and write down any parts that you'd forgotten. Highlight these forgotten areas and pay particular attention to these in your review. Spaced practice may seem difficult at first, as it allows for some forgetting between sessions. However, this is a good thing. You need to forget a little for spaced practice to work, as the effortful process of relearning helps to develop more pathways to the information you need. These paths are stronger and clearer, making it easier to recall information in the future.